My name is Lee Susswein. I was a sophomore at the University of Wisconsin when Pearl Harbor, wherever that was at the time, was attacked. My sister, who was older than I, and had her husband was in the service in Europe, she said to me, "Why don't we join up together and become Marines?" Well, she then became pregnant, so that was out. I speeded up my graduation and I joined the Navy. I was accepted, and the purpose, of course, in those days was to relieve a sailor for war duty. And that's what I did. Generally, WAVES did the things, the clerical jobs for the most part, that the sailors did. And that's why they were called Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service. As a WAVE, this was during my training, I was taught, as the others were, how to step out and how to train other women to step out in cadence. And we paraded, we sang, you know, the songs that you sing while you're parading. And that's what we did. They sent me to Northampton, Massachusetts at Smith College. It was 2 months, and we became officers after that. I remember the things that I had to learn there, one of which was the shape and size of all the vessels that we sent to sea, and the airplanes. We had to memorize what they looked like and how they sounded, and how many people were aboard, things of that nature. And of course, I always remembered how to march. I was a platoon leader part of the time, and I made a very good bed. When I graduated and became commissioned, they sent me to the IT&T building, International Telephone and Telegraph building, where they assigned me the job of cable and radio censor. And I was there for quite a while. We had our rules and regulations, especially with regard to coding and intelligence. My major responsibility was to examine all the cablegrams that came across my desk. And if they had certain words in them that could not be transmitted, we had to either eliminate them or paraphrase them and then stamp them with a hand stamp. These were personal and business cablegrams. You know, people lived and they went overseas, of course. And the cable, of course, you know, was under the Atlantic Ocean. And so we had to make sure that they weren't headed for Germany or Italy or Spain or some Africa. I knew that I was doing something to help the war effort, and I felt good. I especially felt good walking on the street and in my uniform. It was nice. The most important thing that happened to me was, with my roommate, we went to the Women's Service Center, which was at the now Palace Hotel. And there was my husband-to-be, Arthur, and two of his shipmates from the New York State Merchant Marine Academy. And he was a midshipman and was being trained to be a merchant officer. And we met, fell in love, and then he went to sea. Arthur and I got married, and the Navy would not permit married women to serve. So a few months later, they asked me to resign, and I did. I was in a man's world. Perhaps that was the most important thing, that people should realize that women can do what any man can do. They can shoot a gun, they can march, they can fight. They do all those things, especially now. We know that. We have to be intelligent. What I mean by that is we have to know what's going on all over the world. It wasn't that way then, but we have to be prepared. I think that's very important.